will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here.
I must be the greatest.
The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man,
MH.
He is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. And here today, we're bringing you back inside the locker room to talk about topics in and around the game. MH, you ready to do this?
Yes, sir.
Man. So let's talk a little bit of Final Four, right, man? Like the past weekend was just kind of like, you know, the culmination of all the March Madness, and we went into like just some really great basketball. But it was on two different levels, man. So let's just kind of like run through it, man. You ready?
Let's do it, bro.
Awesome, man. So let's start with the men, man. You know, we normally do things ladies first, man. We're gonna switch it up, man. We're gonna just talk about the men's because it's gonna be a little briefer, man. Just kind of like the tides are changing, man. So just the first thing I want to bring up was the teams that we had this year. So rattle them off for me. What were the four teams? I think
we got Miami, Connecticut, and Florida, San Diego, and San Diego State.
That's it, man. So first of all, had to be a surprise. Like no one. We kind of joked about this on the live show last month, but not many people's brackets survive. I don't think anybody had Florida Atlantic going all the way on their bracket.
No, I think that was a new one. I don't even know if Florida Atlantic had themselves going all the way on their bracket, but I think it made out to be good. I mean, you lose. I think we all get excited about the upsets when it comes to the men's tournament, and I think this was the first time in tournament history that no number one seeds made it at least. I mean, even to the Elite Eight round. So I guess that's excitement, and on the other end, I guess that reduces the chance that your bracket is intact, close to the Final Four.
And it hurts my business, my day job. But no, man, like, and it's funny because, and Colin Cowherd always says a lot of this, like everybody says they want, you know, the number ones knocked off, but then when you get that, you know, that basketball, because like I've seen on social and I've seen people complain about like, you know, the Final Four wasn't as like, you knew, you know, once the Final Four was matched that UConn was going to take it all the way. Like everybody, especially because they were on a run. Well, they won like 20-something straight, you know.
Yeah, and they won every tournament game by double digits.
So, you know, people just said like, okay, like at this point, it's going to be a UConn thing, and I even heard like only excitement that happened in the Final Four was San Diego State's, you know, what was it 5 seconds less, 7 seconds on the clock that they dribbled down, and you know that was really the only kind of major excitement, you know, people were kind of saying just for the Final Four, I guess.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I probably agree wholeheartedly with Colin that, you know, the upsets are cute, you know, but when it comes down to the nitty gritty in the Final Four, you kind of want to see your blue bloods, or at least, you know, some stars that you'll probably watch at the next level. And, you know, being a novice, I guess, or a casual when it comes to college basketball, I don't know if any of those guys that were playing in the Final Four are, you know, lotto studs and NBA stars. And if they are, I'll stand corrected. But I think that is a draw for just a casual fan, and I don't think we had it this year.
So now it starts to going, what's wrong with men's basketball, right? So, you know, okay, before I go there, let's do this. Before I go there, is UConn a blue blood?
Yeah, I think they've had the most titles since the turn of the century. I mean, including all the blue bloods, the Carolinas, the Dukes.
They got 5.
Yeah.
Fifth.
Yeah.
So they're up there, but like, you know, a lot of people, you know, are asking that question, you know, and then now, of course, them, sealing the deal with the fifth with like what 3 different coaches or something like that.
Yeah, and you touch on a great point about it is that obviously UConn, the name is, I think, synonymous with basketball in itself, right? Even on the women's side, which we'll get to, that they're consistently good. But for the most part, in those blue bloods, you'll get 1, maybe 2 coaches that have been consistently there for the 10 to 15 years. And I know we had was my man Ollie, and then we've obviously the Hurley and his family tree, and then Calhoun back in the day. 3 really good coaches. 3 have 3 different styles of playing, and and I don't know if UConn has had, to my point earlier, the greatest NBA stars, with no disrespect to like Ray Allen, but Emeka Okafor and Kemba Walker, and I mean that's kind of what you had to show for. Rip Hamilton, no disrespect. So those are kind of the main guys that you kind of had to show for in the NBA. Rudy Gay. I'm going to keep remembering folks from UConn.
They're gonna slowly come out, but that's the thing, though, right? Like it has to be. It's not just smacking your face as you think of
right,
a Duke.
But it's not Duke when it comes to Kyrie Irving's or something of that nature, right? One of the John Wall and all those from Kentucky, like what I'm saying. You get my Vince Carter, North Carolina, like those are some serious names when it comes to NBA basketball, and you haven't really seen that UConn. Shout out to Hasheem Thabit, boy, that was my guy back in the day. He was in the NBA though.
Love it.
Yeah.
So part of the problem, right, is most of your sports, right? Like we love the narrative, right? Like it's a story about the season, getting to know the players, your favorite players, and we're not getting that in men's, NCAA right now, right? It started with the one and done, right? Like that's kind of, I guess the first kind of time people were really like, commenting on just what the stars of and how it's affecting March Madness and the ultimate Final Four and the product. And then now you're having like the opportunity for these guys not even to go to college, right? And we've had this conversation plenty of times on the show. What that does, what that means for them, the individual, and then what it means for the game. And I think we're starting to see some of those outside or other elements affect what the product is for the Final Four.
I kind of see both sides of the coin on this.
Okay.
Being a guy that played out of the smaller Division I, the Big Sky Conference, it is kind of cool to see, a Mountain West team, a Conference USA team in the Final Four, opposed to the same, SEC, ACC, Big 12, whatever the case may be. I thought that was kind of cool, and that's kind of a unique point, for basketball fans that care to that degree.
Well, and then with those conferences that you're mentioning, those are the guys that are staying the 3 and 4 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, and those are the guys probably most likely that maybe they are transferring in, or maybe they've got a little more consistency with the new transfer portal thing, where guys are building a little chemistry a little longer. Maybe it's 1 to 2 to 3 years, as opposed to you're having a full 8 to 9 new people on the team every year for some of the bigger schools. And I think that's kind of been consistent with the one and done kind of era. It's just kind of a new version of
process, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. I do say, I mean, and this even happened on the women's side, is that it's easier, maybe not easier is the word to say for it, but teams and programs can turn over rather quickly, right? So, I mean, I've seen some, I've been on my CU thing for a while since Coach Prime, but even watching their basketball, they got certain people that are, certain names that are interested in the university that normally weren't there when it comes to like Colorado basketball. So I don't know, maybe they could be a Sweet 16 team next year out of nowhere. And I think that's exciting for just a college sport fan in general.
Right.
If we want to be honest. And shout out to Josh, man. FDM or FD Fairleigh Dickinson, FDU, my bad. The team, the 16th seed that beat Purdue this year, was the second 16th seed to beat Purdue. Josh just got announced as a assistant coach on their new staff. So congratulations to you, little bro. Proud of you, man.
Absolutely got to give the love to bro. But that's also when you talk about Colorado, that's the prime effect. That's a whole nother element
Facts.
that's happening. All right. So let's get to what we came here to talk about, man. Let's talk about the ladies, man. The women's basketball has really taken a amazing trajectory. It's been growing maybe in silence for a while. I think there's been some other conversations that were kind of brought to light, and I'll probably share those as well. As it comes up in the conversation, but they're trending the right way. I mean, ever since we went into social media, right? We saw some of the inequalities that were going on with the weight rooms that we talked about in our last live show last month as well.
All right.
But just let's start with the numbers, right? The numbers, the numbers don't lie. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't lie, as Wayne used to say. Even in their final four, they were breaking records as far as anywhere from like 5 to 6 million watchers during the two final four games to ultimately crushing it in the championship game with over like 9 point something viewer million. And then I think 12 at the highest peak, but just on average consistently, man, they've been killing it, man. And the product on the court is showing that as well.
Yeah, I think what we just kind of touched on, the women's final four probably hit all four, or some of the big topics that you typically to the casual viewer. You got a dominant team. South Carolina came into the final four with 40 straight wins or something crazy like that, and then even their head coach is a name that you recognize from whooping on Martin, if that's a minimum that you recognize her from. Don Staley, but
right,
that, and then there's Kim Mulkey, who's been a pretty winning coach in women's basketball for a long time, a central figure. And yes, played at Louisiana Tech when Louisiana Tech was the dominant team, and then with those ugly T-shirt jerseys, I'm glad they got rid of them. And then obviously was a coach with Brittany Griner, who's had her own set of news on and off the court, and Odyssey Sims, who's was a really good player for Baylor, and then in the W. So you have those elements, and then obviously you have Caitlin Clark. However you feel about her, she's been kind of an intriguing star over the last couple years, just by the way she plays. And then
the Steph Curry, she's the Steph Curry. So let's jump back before we get too deep into like all the players, because I think that's you're leading right into kind of, I believe, like you said, the narrative or all the things that we said was missing from the men's game. It's like knowing the players like Caitlin. So the teams that were in there was South Carolina, Iowa, LSU, and Virginia Tech.
Right.
And just some of those matchups, right? Like you said, you led into the stories, and just now you get into like the individual players, and then what they've been doing in the NIL, right? Like, so they've been crushing the NIL with the deals that they've been having. All of their top players on all four of the teams. But yeah, a lot of them are taking that next step when we're talking about in the draft. And you brought up when we were doing like our pre-show stuff a dope rule that I didn't know, and I'm pretty sure like a lot of our listeners would know. So talk to them about kind of what their next step process is for them.
Yeah, I think when you think of some of the dominant players, including Angel Reese, who we'll talk more about, who's the most outstanding player of the Final Four. You gotta see, like, why don't a lot of young ladies go pro or go to the W sooner? Kind of like we're talking on the men's side. And outside of it being maybe even financially better to stay in college for her and some other players, they have a rule where either you're graduating senior or you have to turn 22 in the calendar year of the draft. So, while Angel is a sophomore, and she's currently 21, she won't be turning 22 till next year, so she wouldn't be eligible. And that's the same for Caitlin as well, which makes it intriguing 2024 draft when you throw in them and old girl from UConn. I got to get her name, Paige. That will all be eligible for the draft next year. So interesting.
Very
Intriguing.
interesting, man. But yeah, so and we're getting to know their names, right? Whether it's NIL, whether it's you talk about like Flaugier, if I probably butchered her name, that's what I do. I butcher names. But like she's a rapper and a hooper, right? Like, they're doing the story about like how she became a rapper and how she's taking that serious. I think she's like signed to, I don't know, Rock Nation or something like that. So it's these stories that you're getting, and you're getting the top players, right? So Caitlin Clark was the player of the year,
Mhm.
for them. So all of those things are just helping, to tell that storyline and just to grow the game. So I sat and watched both of the like they were great games. Like you sat down, you watch it, and I still believe like the women's game is still traditional basketball, right? Like, um, just fundamentals still.
And
You
bro,
know,
I mean, some of that, like, they hooping. So let me not be. I'm not gonna be disrespectful. I'm not saying anything. So I'm probably
but
gonna get some slander
but
for this. But there is one thing in the women's and game that I would love to see change. It has
what's
nothing to
that?
do with dunking. It doesn't have anything to do with pay. It doesn't have anything to do with that. I like how they play basketball. I'm really a big fan of how they play basketball.
Uh-huh.
But that entry pass from the top of the key through the middle of the lane of paint to a post player, we got to start deflecting balls. We got to redirect that. That cannot be a pass you're able to make
That
uh
smoothly and that
anymore
often.
at a at a high level. Like we have to be able to play some better defense of that ball pressure, all that kind of. I don't know
Well,
what we got to do.
hey, hold
Coaches,
on. What
please let
about
me
your
know what we got to
girl
do.
that was scoring almost like 20 points and didn't dribble but once the whole fucking
We
Final
can't just
Four?
have simple entry passes under the basket, straight George Mike and post move, right hand layup, run back. Like, come on, we gotta pressure the point guard a little bit to make that
Bruh,
pass a little
in
tougher.
the tourney, she had
That
less
does
than
bother me.
10 dribbles.
I'm talking about chest pass from the 3-point line, straight in the middle of the paint, no deflection, layup. Like, come on, guys,
Gotta shut that down.
we gotta shut that down. That can't happen anymore. So that's the one thing that I have to see change.
What were you surprised that SC didn't make it?
Who didn't make it?
South Carolina?
Yes, very surprised, but back to the coaching piece, I was a little disappointed in Don Staley, and not only is she a good recruiter, she's good X's and O coaches, but we got to make some adjustments. I mean, you
So
can't have somebody just sitting in the paint, not guarding anybody. We're not making
right.
any adjustments, so I was disappointed in that
So I
for
was with
sure.
Bobby Stills in Houston. We were down. We went to the Final Four game, but we were having that
We got some
conversation.
wings. While he always on me on some wings, I know y'all was eating.
Yeah, he actually found us. We had stuffed wings, so that's a whole nother thing.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, he
okay.
fancy with it. So but we were talking about that, right? Like the just the non-adjustment, and of course both games, even the men's games, right? They were the referees were a little bit too much in the games. So I think that affected some of the outcomes when you have all of your starting players like sitting down with foul trouble.
I agree.
That was a little much. So that did change some of the course of the game, but it was kind of, really wanting Don to like stop those passes, but just some other things that they could have done. To where they weren't respecting the three. It's like, shoot, you got all these big girls down there, like, let somebody shoot, pull the rebound, and it looks like that's what LSU did, right? Because Iowa attempted to do the same thing, and that freshman got hot. She dropped like
Yeah, a
21,
little bit of a different beast
a
against
little bit,
LSU.
but
So
still, you got to shoot though. Like, I mean, like when she fanned her, like, "Oh, I don't even respect your shot up top, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. She put a
you
little
got to
money
do
on
something about that.
that. Correct. Yeah. No, I was disappointed in that, but I think you hit a really good point about the officiating the NCAA tournaments on both sides. It really bothers me. And anybody that knows me knows how much I complain about officials and how they just dictate college basketball on both sides of the coin. Maybe you got to go up in fouls. Maybe instead of having 5 fouls, maybe we do 6 fouls. But there's too many tournament games that are decided because the best player on some other team is in foul trouble just because the refs are calling ticky tack. So they got to fix that.
Absolutely. So, tournament's over. We turn the clock, and the WNBA draft's right around the corner, right? Like I think it's was it April 10th, 11th, something like that. So it's coming right around the corner. So it's going to be interesting. Some of these ladies have already declared. So it's gonna be great to see where they land, what WNBA team, they fall in. Still want to see the WNBA expand so we can have more of these talented young ladies on some teams. But I'm excited to kind of watch that because I think we talked Malia Boston. She declared, right? You said when we looked that up in the pre.
She did, and Indiana Fever have the number 1 pick, so highly likely that she will be the first player picked in the draft this year, as well as she should. She deserves it. So excited to see that.
So it's gonna be good, man. But love to see where the direction is going. We could do a whole nother show if we talk about the money because the rights deal that they did for the women is going to bite them in the ass because it's an amazing asset that um they they placed improperly. They didn't evaluate it properly, and it's going to hurt them for a few. So hopefully they can kind of with other sponsors and other interests, they can kind of continue to grow and get the support for those, for those schools and for that amazing product that they're putting out.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Anything else for the people, man, before we jump out and get out of here?
Yeah, before we go, I mean, I think, and it's been a hot topic of late, was kind of the trash talk or sportsmanship or whatever you want to call it, gestures from, the athletes. Where more than a race thing, and we can get into a deeper dive into why it's cool for Caitlin to do the same thing that Angel did, and it's been viewed a different way. And we know there's many historical reasons behind that, but I'll be glad when we get to a place with women's sports where we can we just stop viewing it like they're athletes, like across the board. Like athletes talk noise. That's just what happens. That's part of the competition.
That's a competitive.
Yeah, and I just like we don't do that. If it was 2 males that were in that same situation, I don't think we're leading off first take and undisputed with that topic. I think we're just talking about the game and the results of the game, and we lost the fact that LSU won the national championship, and Kim Mulkey is third all-time leading championship winner as a coach and first woman to win at 2 different universities. Like we just missed a lot of the storylines that we could have focused on to talk about trash talking, whose feelings were hurt or not hurt. Like I mean, they're athletes and they're competing. Let's keep the focus on that.
It would have been nice, and I was like debating because I had this down, and since you brought it up, I think it was BS, man. I do feel that like there's certain things that there's ways you discuss it, and people calling her classless and like attacking, right? Like there's ways that you can do it, and I just think that it definitely became a cultural thing where it was a black and white thing. What it came down to. It was a majority black team versus, a majority white team, a down south team. It's like it's still here, right? Like Kanye always says it, man, racism ain't live. Y'all just be concealing it. So I mean David Portnoy, whatever, the Barstool dude
guy.
Yeah, who went off and called her out her name.
Keith Olbermann. Come on, Keith, bro.
Keith, and
Danny
then
Cannell, like y'all.
Yeah, just people just was going in on, this young lady, right? Like that's an amazing basketball player, and would have been any different if they lost. Like it's just too much for me, man. And all the memes and all the talks is definitely. And then to top it all off, our first lady says, "Let's invite both teams." And like you said, like I don't think she did it maliciously. I don't know, but I think it's back to where I was saying that. You just you have to be aware, and sometimes people have the luxury of not being aware, right? Sometimes the position of power or who you are allows you not to have to pay attention, and it causes real serious backlash.
For sure. And then, yeah, it's oftentimes or it's not often in today's world when we talk about basketball and particularly football, which we kind of talk about mostly here, where you see the image of one side is all black and one side is, mostly white. You don't really see that image. So I guess looking at it, maybe that popped up a little bit for people that I don't know. I just saw it as two competitors competing, whether they talk noise or not. I mean, who cares? Like, come on, man. We talking a little bit too much about nonsense. Let's talk about the game itself.
Let's talk about the game. Absolutely. Very much so. But that was a thing that we're in, that climate that we're in, it's still there. And people feel a certain way about it, right? Like some people just hate on people that are at the top.
That's true too. I mean, it gets lonely on top, so it's
facts, right?
You got to pull folks down that are on top, which is cool. And I think Caitlin, even today, she was like, I don't really care, like,
I love the way she handled it. Like,
yeah. And Angel the same way. It's like all respect off the court, like we good, but you lost and I won, so I'm gonna celebrate.
Right. And that's all it should be. Like,
it is.
And I think that's the problem with people that are outside, that don't understand sports culture. Like, they love, like, I don't want to say love, kind of want to speak, but they respect her. Like, I can't think of the guard for LSU. I just saw a clip of her. It was like, oh my God, yo, that's great. She's a dog. She's a beast. Like, respect the game, but I'm gonna bust your ass when we're on the court. And that is sports culture, right? Like,
it is.
I mean, Deion talks cash money stuff, but of course they didn't have as many cameras and mics and everything on the field back then. But like, that is always sports culture, and people need to not judge people or classify people or pigeonhole people into some identity, because Kaylin talks trash because she's a beast on the court. She told someone they were small. She fanned off somebody, and I was like, yo, I like that. That's because she's a beast. It was, hell, she pulled a damn 35-footer off to start to fight the championship game. Like, she's a beast. And like the fact that you had other people pushing that narrative, because it is a thought that they, that they kind of brought to past what was just a game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not a new conversation. I mean, Serena Williams had to deal with this for 2 decades. So, I mean, prayerfully we can get past that part of the competition, but I don't know if we will. Like I said, Serena Williams been dealing with this, right? So it is what it is. They propped up Maria Sharapova just cause. So yeah, whatever. We're getting off on a tangent, like, man.
But that's what it is, right? That, I mean, and that's sad, but that's why we have this, right? Because people need to see and be highlighted and not talk negatively. She's an amazing person. She's done great NIL deals. She's handled that. I mean, even Don Staley was talking about like people talking bad about their kids. She's like, these are kids playing basketball, and for you to talk dirty to them, calling them thugs and stuff like that because they play a bully ball game, like that's a type of game, bully ball, right? Like, I'm going to beat you up in the paint. But that doesn't make them classless. It doesn't. So
no, it doesn't. It just you need to put some ball pressure on the guard so he can't do this damn entry passes in the middle of the paint. That fixes all that. Damn.
So that's what it is, man. But yeah, you're right, man. We're going on a tangent, man. But the fact that we're speaking about it is because it's there, right?
Correct.
Other than that, such a great kind of weekend, and it's great to see the women's game, going to where it's going. And also looking forward to seeing what the WNBA draft has and where these stars are going in the next couple of years. So anything else for MMH?
Nah, brother. My bad.
No, man, you're all good. Well, as always, man, we want to thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. As you know, we drop new episodes every Thursday. So please share the show, subscribe. Definitely subscribe to our YouTube because visual representation matters. And we're everywhere on all of our social media platforms and anywhere you listen to podcasts. And remember, please stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo, look. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.